A young gorilla rises in terror, its tiny limbs caught in the suffocating coils of a massive anaconda. The snake's body tightens, inch by inch, threatening to snap every fragile bone inside that small frame. Dust swirls in the air, stirred by the frantic struggle on an old, cracked asphalt road. From the shadows of the trees, a roar tears through the silence. The voice of the mother. It's not rage. It's not dominance. It's pure, soul-crushing fear. She explodes through the undergrowth, unstoppable, a force of nature with one purpose. Save her child. The snake feels it. A new danger. Its head rises, eyes dark and unblinking, tongue flicking. Tasting the air, daring the silverback that now stands before it. The jungle holds its breath. Two titans locked in a standoff. Then, with raw, desperate fury, the mother slams her fists into the ground. The earth itself seems to quake, the sound echoing like war drums. Maternal rage against cold-blooded death. The battle line is drawn. But how did this peaceful morning turn into such a nightmare? To understand the desperation in this moment, we have to step back. Just minutes earlier, the day began in harmony. In a sunlit clearing beneath the acacias, the gorilla troop moved through their quiet ritual. The air was warm, alive with insects buzzing, distant bird calls, and the soft grunts of family at ease. Among them, a young gorilla, barely 2 years old, lived in a world that was nothing but wonder. Curious, restless, wide-eyed, chasing a bright blue butterfly that danced just out of reach. His mother watched close by, powerful and majestic, her silverback gleaming in the light. But in her eyes, only gentle patience. She let him wander, because she knew instinctively that discovery was part of survival. The butterfly carried him farther, towards something he didn't understand. A strange gray strip cutting through the forest, an old road, cracked and fading, swallowed by grass. To him, it was just another playground. But the jungle often hides its dangers in silence. The heat shimmered above the asphalt, warping the air, disguising what lay waiting. For the young gorilla, stepping onto that road was stepping across a line, out of safety, into unseen peril. The grass stirred. A blur, a pattern that came alive. The anaconda, its body already warmed by the sun. No warning, no hiss, just a strike. Lightning fast, silent, and merciless. Before he could even scream, coils crushed around his tiny frame. His playful squeaks turned to screams of terror. Back in the clearing, his mother froze, her gentle watch gone in an instant, replaced by pure alarm. She became something else, a warrior, a protector, unstoppable. But she wasn't alone in hearing those cries. Miles away, along that very road, two men drove toward fate. Ranger Mark, hardened by 20 years of the wild, and Ranger David Younger, driven by fire and instinct. Their jeeps rounded the bend, and the scene hit them like a punch. Dust settled, revealing the chaos of nature's brutal law. David was already leaping from the car, but Mark's hand shot out, firm. "Wait!" His voice cut through the panic. "Think, David. Look at her." His eyes never left the silverback. "If we step in now, she won't see us as saviors. She'll see us as threats, and she'll destroy us before we get 10 feet. And he was right. A cornered silverback, a mother defending her baby, carries a strength that words can't capture, a strength that can snap a tree like a twig. Her instinct to protect was absolute, an unshakable force consuming every fiber of her being. To intervene now, no matter how noble the intention, could mean death for the Rangers, and worse, it would do nothing to save the young gorilla. They stood caught in a nightmare, a choice carved in seconds. And every second was lethal. The anaconda's coils pressed tighter, crushing the breath from that small, fragile body. The little gorilla's movement slowed, its chest rising in shallow gasps, eyes glazing with the fading light of life. Time no longer ticked in minutes, but in heartbeats. Helpless, they watched as a mother's frantic strength met an enemy built to suffocate. And then stillness, a stillness more horrifying than the violence itself. Her baby was slipping away. For Mark and David, hesitation was over. The choice was made. Action or nothing. Grab the poles. Now! Mark's voice cut the air, steady, but charged with urgency. They moved fast, pulling long, sturdy poles from the Jeep, simple tools for brush and rough terrain. But today, they would be weapons in a war for life. Their approach was careful, calculated. They didn't move at her, but in a wide arc, reading her every twitch, every muscle. She saw them, a roar ripped from her chest, caught between rage at the snake and terror of these new intruders. 3 fears collided in her at once. Predator, child, human. This is it, Mark shouted. David, distracted. I'll lever the coils. David jabbed his pole toward the snake's tail, drawing its attention. Mark lunged in low, wedging his own pole between the suffocating coil and the child's ribs. He threw his whole weight into it, muscle straining against muscle as hard as stone. The snake thrashed violently, sending the mother back a step. Its head whipped around, fangs bared, striking the air just inches from Mark's leg. But David was relentless, hammering the snake's body with sharp, stunning blows. Not to kill, not to maim, just enough to confuse, to disorient. It worked. The predator's rhythm was broken. Its mind split between 3 threats. Mark pushed again, harder, deeper. A coil slipped, then another. The knot unraveled. And suddenly, the snake broke. Its survival instinct screamed louder than its hunger. In a blur of brown and gold, it released, unspooling like rope and vanishing into jungle's green veil, silence. Deafening, fragile silence. The danger had fled, but there was no triumph. On the dusty road lay the limp body of the young gorilla. The mother dropped to her knees beside him, nudging softly, then harder, urging life back into him. Nothing. Her cry wasn't a roar now. It was low, mournful, a sound that pierced deeper than violence ever could. Grief echoed through the jungle. But for Ranger Mark, the fight wasn't finished. A new one was beginning, and it was the most dangerous of his life. He handed his pole to David, pulled a small medical kit from his belt, and drew a steady breath. Then, slowly, he stepped forward, and no aggression, no sudden moves. His hands were open, his eyes lowered, not to challenge, only to plead. The mother's gaze locked on him, every muscle alive with power, a storm of fear and grief. One wrong step, and she'd tear him apart. He stopped, dropped to his knees, making himself small. And then, something no one could have imagined, she looked at her baby, then at the human, then back again. In that pause, in those dark, intelligent eyes, a decision was made. She nudged her baby forward, just slightly, but enough. A gesture of trust. A mother choosing hope over fear. That Mark's hands trembled as he leaned in. 2 fingers pressed against the tiny chest. There, a pulse. Faint, slipping. Seconds left. He began compressions, gentle, rhythmic, desperate. The sight was surreal. A man kneeling in the dust, pumping life back into a wild creature. Under the unblinking watch of its powerful mother, he grabbed a coal pack, snapped it alive, pressed it gently to the young gorilla's head to slow the swelling. The mother rumbled low, a constant warning, but she didn't stop him. She simply watched, then a sound, faint at first, then sharp, a cough, a sputter. A tiny, fragile breath broke through the silence. Life had answered back. The young gorilla's chest shuddered, then rose with fragile, ragged breath. Its eyelids fluttered, fighting the weight of the world, and opened. In an instant, the mother was there, scooping her baby into her massive arms, pressing him against her chest with a tenderness that could silence the jungle itself. Her great hand stroked his fur, her deep rumbles now soft, almost like a purr of relief. And then she looked up, her gaze locked on Mark and David. Not for a second, not by accident, but with intention. In those dark eyes, there was no rage, no fear. Instead, something else passed between species, something unmistakable, a quiet recognition, an understanding, a thank you without words. And just as suddenly as she had come crashing through the jungle in fury, she turned. With her child clutched close, she melted into the shadows, leaving nothing but silence in her wake. Mark and David stood frozen on that cracked road, surrounded by the stillness of the forest. What they had just witnessed was more than survival, more than struggle. It was a miracle, a moment where violence gave way to trust, where desperation built a bridge across the boundaries of species. That day became a reminder, a truth deeper than the jungle itself, that the bond between mother and child speaks in a universal language. That courage and empathy don't belong only to humans, and that in this wild, untamed world, we are all connected, woven together by unseen threads of life, of loss, and of love.